national capacity, and tell us, when was it founded and why?
Depending on who you speak to, the history is different. We were officially founded as an organization in 1999. We opened our office in Washington, D.C. when I became the first executive director in 2000. And it was founded by community development corporations, CDCs as they're referred to, that are working in the Chinatowns, the little Tokyos, the little Manilas, the little Saigons across the country. So CDCs are community development organizations. Most are nonprofit 501c3s, as we were talking about earlier, that are organizing communities and providing particularly for the needs of low-income Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So we have about 100 member organizations in 14 states across the country. They really came together. They've been many of our organizations have been around for 30 plus years, and they came together in 1999 really in recognition of the fact that there needed to be a voice to really break the model minority myth and to educate elected officials, policymakers, and mainstream advocacy organizations about the needs of low-income Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Let's take this opportunity to talk about debunking this myth that there are, low-income Asian Americans. I'm sure people are out there, wondering about the truth of that, and you know for a fact that there is, right?
Right. Actually, relative to the non-Hispanic white population, there are more, the rate of poverty among Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders is much higher. And it's particularly when you look at subpopulations, particularly Southeast Asians and Pacific Islander and Native Hawaiian communities, the rate is quite a bit higher. And so a lot of the work that we do is around research and providing more detailed data, research reports, and information to policymakers to let them know that when they're making their policy decisions, when they're allocating funding for the highest priority needs, that they don't forget about Asian Americans communities, and they're making decisions based on accurate information that there are really low-income communities that have needs. And it's not only about income either. Even those that are middle income or wealthier also have language access issues, et cetera. And so there are needs across the board, in addition to the fact that there are low-income Asian Americans. And
a lot of our needs may not be so apparent.
Right, and more recent immigrants.
Right.
So.
I know sometimes in the school systems when they just look at test scores, and they, sometimes immediately there's this assumption that Asian Americans don't have a need.
Right.
When the reality is it may not be reflected in test scores, but as you mentioned, some language issues.
Right.
What kind of organizations are a part of national capacity?
Right. So as I mentioned before, we have the whole range of groups that are very large, like Little Tokyo Service Center in Los Angeles, for example. They have, they're doing multi-family affordable housing projects with hundreds of units that are serving low-income, actually very multi-ethnic communities.